of a nationwide movement. Patrisse Colors is one of the co-founders with Alicia Garza and Gopal Tamedi of the Black Lives Matter movement. She is an LA-based artist, activist, and advocate for criminal justice reform, a Fulbright scholar, a 2015 NAACP history maker, and one of Fortune's 2016 World's Greatest Leaders. She'll be joined tonight by co-author Asha Bandele, a former features editor for Essence Magazine and senior director at the Drug Policy Alliance. Ms. Bandele is the author of the memoirs The Prisoner's Wife and Something Like Beautiful, as well as 2 poetry collections. Their new book, When They Call You a Terrorist, is an impassioned rebuttal to those who call Black Lives Matter a threat to America. Michael Eric Dyson praised the book for portraying the movement's genesis in love of self, community, people, and ultimately the very soul of a democratic nation. Tonight, they will be in conversation with Philadelphia's own scholar, professor, and journalist Mark Lamont Hill, who currently serves as the first Steve Charles Chair in Media Cities and Solutions at Temple University. He is also the author of the widely praised book, Nobody: Casualties of America's War on the Vulnerable from Ferguson to Flint and Beyond. Please welcome Patrisse Colors, Asha Bandele, and Mark Lamont Hill.
Good. It's fancy, right? Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Man, first of all, it's so wonderful to see all of you here this evening. And I like y'all and everything. But I am super excited to see these two. These are literally 2 of my favorite people in the whole world. And I couldn't imagine being anywhere else right now than with you 2. And with this amazing book. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Really excited to be here. Who is the young woman who's reading poetry?
Exactly.
Can I see you?
Mary.
Stay. She did? Well, when she steps back in, Mike, can we give another round of applause? My God! She broke that
whole thing. That was stunning. And so appropriate for this night and for this book. Whenever I talk to people about their books, the first thing I always ask is, why this book, why now? Can you talk a little bit first, you, Patrisse, about why this book, why now?
Yes. I'm super grateful to be in the room and glad that in this moment, given who is in office and the administration that he's assembled around him, that we still have it in us to gather in these ways. I think it's important that we stay in community, that we stay loving up on each other. We could talk politics all day, but there is a grief in the country and in the world because of America, and I think being close to one another and holding space for one another is just as important as trying to figure out what policies we're going to change. And with that, this book for me is an offering. It's also truth-telling, and it's a reminder that Black Lives Matter isn't going anywhere.
The process of writing a memoir is daunting, I'm sure. I'm scared, you know. You wrote it now, and there's some people who would say, and have said, not about you, but in general, I'm gonna wait 10 years before I write this. I'm gonna wait another 20 years before I write this one. You could have written a Black Lives Matter history, you could have written a cultural analysis, but what you do here, particularly in the first half of this book, is that you reveal the self. Did you have any angst or anxiety about doing that now at this point in your life?
Yes. And I still do. But, you know, a little bit about how we got to the process. I was offered in 2015, someone saw me on a panel and said, you got a book in you. And I said, okay, cool. I don't know what that means. But I also wasn't thinking about writing a book. I was in the daily grind of organizing and being on the front lines and trying to cultivate and support both the movement, but also Black Lives Matter, the organization. But when we started to be called terrorists, and when our movement started to clearly be surveilled, and when looked like Trump was going to, in fact, really win the Republican ticket, I went to Dream Hampton and I said, should I write a book? Someone said about a year ago that I should write a book, and we weren't sure it was going to be a memoir, and she said, yeah, and you should talk to Asha. And I called Asha literally immediately. I hung up and I called Asha. I was like, Asha, what do you think? And she said, oh, you should write a memoir. And it was like pretty much settled from that moment.
Wow. And the call to Asha, you all know Asha Bandele. First of all, is one of the great writers of our generation.
Yeah. Yes.
And I really mean that. She's a writer, she's a poet, she's an activist, she's a Brooklyn. No one does more to sell Brooklyn to people than her. Like, she would have you think black
Brooklyn sells Brooklyn.
We have a Brooklyn Philly rivalry. I love Asha to death, but
I don't have an apartment in Philly. You have an apartment.